My name is Mari Sacades. I'm a freediving instructor and athlete, and the founder of Apnea Philippines, which is a freediving school here in Batangas. I've been freediving for about 6 years now. I started freediving in 2016. A friend invited me to go to the beach with them, and this group were freedivers. So I thought that I might give it a try, and when I did, I was surprisingly good at it. But then I wanted to be better at freediving. So I enrolled myself in a course in Bohol. I took my first two courses there, and then I went to Cebu for my next two courses, and eventually went to Bali for my instructor course. When you first start freediving, you'll get hooked to the beauty underwater, to the fishes and the corals that you see. And then you eventually realize that it's very meditative, it's very quiet, so you can't hear anything else. You forget about your problems, you leave them on the surface, and underwater, it's just you and the water, you and the sea.
What do you think is the hardest part about freediving?
At this point, the hardest part for me as an athlete is knowing when to stop and when to continue. Because free diving, especially the free falling part, is a lot like falling asleep. So you're falling asleep and you enter this dreamlike world. Although you're super relaxed, although you're feeling like you're falling asleep, you still have to be aware of the sensations in your body, especially the pressure and the equalization. When you are in this meditative state, you're very aware. You're very conscious of each second of everything that is happening, and it feels like time slows down. Feels like that. At the same time, you have this fear, you have this excitement, and also anxiety, but then you're super relaxed. So it's a mix of all of those. In
Because
meditation, you focus on the breath, right?
right,
So for you to be able to meditate, you first focus on your inhale and your exhale. And it's similar to freediving because you focus on the breath before you hold your breath. After that, you do the breath hold. While you're doing this, you're focused on your body and also on your surroundings. There's many types of freediving. So there's recreational and there's competitive freediving. With recreational freediving, you have underwater photography, fun diving, spearfishing, and competitive freediving is where you compete and try to go deeper. So with recreational freediving, it's more about what you see around you, the feeling of the water, and it's very relaxing. It's fun. It's fun to do. In competitive freediving, it's looking inward. When I got into competitions, I got addicted to defining your limits and pushing them.
how do you reach that limit? Like, how can you surpass that?
Well, through training, you get to define your limits. Like, we don't go to 100 meters in one go. You have to train for that. And you have to be in the best condition to be able to do that. When you train, you try to go deeper in like 2 to 3 meter increments until you feel comfortable at that depth. And once you are, then on your next training session, then you can add some depth to it. So that's how we train because the body adapts. We have short-term adaptation, but we also have long-term adaptation. So there's several types of visualization, and we do this as a mental technique to be able to relax and hold our breath longer. So there is first what we call the body scan. So you scan the body for any tension or stress it might carry to make sure that your body is fully relaxed. Some people, they're not aware that they're clenching their jaw or that their shoulders are hunched. So because of the body scan, they become aware and they try to remove any of that tension. Another type of visualization is called transportation, where you transport yourself from where you are into another place. Like you can imagine something relaxing like clouds rolling by or a sunset or anything that would relax you or your happy place. And then we have what is called automation. In automation, when you are out of the water, you actually sit down and you visualize yourself doing the dive, like each specific part of the dive. So you get to train yourself even without getting wet or diving in the water. And what happens is when you get into the water, it feels like you've already practiced enough. And when you visualize it, it becomes automated. So you don't even have to think about the next step that you're going to do. You automatically do it. There are certain steps to a dive, regardless of which discipline you're doing. And when you are freediving, you are focused on each specific step. So there is no room for any other thought, especially negative thoughts, because your mind is already filled with whatever you're doing at the moment. So you're focused mainly on relaxation and equalization, and of course, your technique. While you're holding your breath, you don't look at the time. You try to transport yourself into a different place or divert your attention into something else. So we have what is called visualization, where you visualize either your happy place or anything that would take you away from the focus of holding your breath. The first part of the dive is where you have to do a lot of steps until you get into free fall. When you enter free fall, this is where you're negatively buoyant, and even if you're not moving, you're just falling underwater. So when you enter free fall, you still have to focus on your equalization, your relaxation, and your streamlining. But your thoughts revolve around these three things, and these three things only. So sometimes you will get negative thoughts, like I do. I'm, I'm only speaking for myself, but I would sometimes have these thoughts of a creature or me not being able to equalize well. I acknowledge it and then I just resume. So it all happens within 1 to 2 minutes.
It almost sounds like it's kind of like a therapy for yourself, right?
Yes, a lot of people, a lot of my students have told me that freediving has been very therapeutic for them. Also, for me, I used to have anxiety. And because of freediving, because of the meditation and the breathing exercises, it improved my anxiety, and same for the other people that I have met. Freediving is a very relaxing and enjoyable sport or activity, and it gets you into this dreamlike state where time stops, and it helps you to become more aware and conscious of your thoughts, but at the same time it exposes you to the beauty underwater, and it's not every day that you get to see that. That's why I think a lot of people get hooked into freediving, because it's something that they rarely experience. So it's very enjoyable, but at the same time, it has its risks. That's why we promote enrolling in a formal course with licensed instructors, so that you learn the science behind freediving, and also so you know how to do the safety protocols. And at the same time, you learn the proper techniques, so your progress will be much faster and much easier, and of course safer. Because a lot of people, when they go down, they immediately come up because of some fears that they have. So it could be because they feel like have enough air anymore, or they're scared of the dark blue color when it gets deeper, or they're scared of creatures that might pop up from from the dive. So it's pretty normal. A lot of people get this. I even get this still. Until now, I still get these thoughts. It's more of getting comfortable and doing it again and again. It takes a lot of practice to be able to acknowledge these thoughts and to have that fear, but to do it anyway.
Have you ever felt like you didn't have anything under control anymore?
So in August of 2019, I joined a competition, and unfortunately, the weather and the conditions were really bad. So they had to cancel the first 2 days of the competition, and we were also filming for a documentary. So I was tired. It's not a disclaimer. I'm just I'm just explaining. But yeah, I did a free immersion dive. So free immersion is a discipline in freediving where you are pulling yourself down and back up on the line. So you're not using any fins, or you're not kicking or anything. You're just using your arms and your shoulders to propel you in the water. So at the time, I attempted a 52-meter dive, which I was already comfortable with. My personal best at the time was around 55, but I opted to go for a more shallow dive because of the competition jitters. I was able to go down. I got the tag. On my way back up, I felt really tired, like heavy in my muscles, and I knew that something was wrong. So I still tried to make my way back up, but then my legs were involuntarily kicking already, and it's one of the signs of hypoxia, which is low oxygen. So I knew that I was going to black out sooner or later. So I still tried my best to make it to the surface. And when I did, I blacked out. I forgot to do my recovery breaths and blacked out. And luckily, it was during a competition. So during a competition, you have a lot of safety divers around you, and they did the rescue for me. So I woke up from my blackout, and I was still a bit confused. So I still did my surface protocol, but I got a red card. If you were there, or if you would see the footage, it looks really scary, and everyone else would be afraid for you or feel bad for you. I didn't feel any pain or anything like that. Of course, I was disappointed that I blacked out and didn't get the white card. However, during the blackout, it felt like I was just dreaming. Like I was in a dream and then I got transported back into reality. That's it. So that was my first ever blackout. Yeah, it was okay. I was just disappointed that I didn't get the white card, but it's okay. I can get it next time. If you black out with somebody who can perform the proper rescue, someone who is an instructor or who is properly trained, then you're okay. They will be able to revive you. But if you free dive by yourself without anyone with you, or if you're with somebody but they don't know how to do the proper rescue, then you will drown. You're good as dead. That's why the number one rule in freediving is not to free dive alone. What motivates me is more about becoming better than my previous self or trying to improve myself. Freediving has taught me a lot. So it's not just in freediving that I apply this, but also in other aspects of my life. May it be being an instructor. So, of course, I want to be a better instructor for my students. And, of course, as a person, I want to be a better person than I was. I'd like to encourage people to try freediving. It's one of the best decisions that you will ever make because it's not just an activity or a sport, it's life-changing. So if you want to try freediving, you can reach us at Apnea Philippines. We're based here in Batangas. And we teach freediving from beginners up to certification courses and line trainings. And we also hold fun dives.